Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM22. It's Youth Factory, and this is episode 64. We are ready to kick off our new season, and we're going to try to quickly make our way through this season as the team is still, in the same mode that it's now been in for 3 seasons running, which was we got to the second flight and stabilized in that first season. So season 2 felt like it was going to be more comfortable, and it was after a little while. And then season 3, which we did in a single episode, was very comfortable, and we improved by about 5 or 6 points each of those 2 seasons after first avoiding the drop and now being pretty comfortable mid-table. Where we stand this season, ultimately the same as last season. We are 33-1 odds. We are last place. Media prediction is 16th out of 16. They still hate us the same way they have each and every season before us. But unlike previous seasons, there are now 5 reserve squads. 5 reserve squads here in the second tier. Brann, Vålerenga, Odd, Sarpsborg, and Tromso. 3 of those coming via promotion from the third tier. That's pretty big. That's going to shake things up because you never quite know what you're going to get with those. You could have some pretty big-time players coming along or not. They can be really good right near the top of the league. They could be mid-table, or they could very much be at the bottom. So there's 5 huge unknowns. We know what we're going to get with Straumen and Grorud and Asker and Ilsund and Fredrikstad and Sandefjord and Mjøndalen. Those teams are much the same that they've been for a number of years. Majority of those, all but a couple, are professional sides that just aren't on the same level as the top tier, but are pretty good, pretty competitive, and that's the teams we're going to be going head-to-head with for most of the season. Then you have Start, who has been heavily favored to bounce back, but didn't a year ago. You have Kongsvinger, who has been yo-yoing, and HamKam, who has been yo-yoing as well and is the favorites to win the league again this season. In terms of the key players, it's the same old story. We are pretty much quite a ways down that list. We're nowhere near the Media Dream 11 or anything like that. They don't like us. But yet we've managed to, be comfortable mid-table. Let's get into a game, see how we play. We are on the road at Asker to open the season. And the season kicks off with 2 key changes to the side, and they are both down to suspensions that were obtained in the final match of the season last year. The unfortunate part is they're painful. They're painful suspensions for us because A, they play in the same position, and B, they are our thinnest position where we just do not have a whole lot of quality. And that, of course, is center back. So Harstead getting his first ever start. Great block there, though. That was Fawoli who made that block. So Fawoli playing center back today. Harstead is in, getting his first ever appearance. And then Haagensen, the backup, is in there. Remember that not only is Gillo and Severette out suspended, but Jakobsen has been released from the club, so the standard backup is unavailable. And now we have, in the 10th minute, a knee injury to Lovas. Genkarzik is the likely backup on this one, so let's bring him in. Genkarzik has the skill, but I'm just not the biggest fan of his attribute distribution. He's actually better than Lovas on paper, and I think the AI is starting to favor him a bit. And Jonas Gay has been given license to run free now in the middle. Last season after Uleberg left us. This ball there. Bergam finds Holmdale inside, and Holmdale cannot finish. Depending on how things go, we might bring Holmdale in on top. But Genkarzik is somebody we just subbed on, so not looking to sub him off right away. But if we get to the last half hour or so, we could bring in a sub for the sub if he's not doing well enough. Jonas Gay with that free kick and goes for that upper inside corner. And he gets it. It's on target, but the keeper makes a pretty easy save on that one. Good Karchik. Bergam. Oh, rebound to Homedale. Cross in. Cleared away. Arstead, nice play on that one. Great anticipation to go up and challenge for that. Good Karchik. Overlapping Andreasen. Homedale. Off the underside of the crossbar. So unlucky. That should have been a goal. That should have slid through, especially here in the pouring rain. If that bar is wet, it's slippery enough that that ball will slide a bit instead of just bouncing off, and that should be a goal. Kankarzik goes really close to scoring. We are all over them at the moment, outside of one excellent slide tackle from Fawoli to prevent the shot as Janssen makes that play. We've shut them down. We've shut them down on every opportunity. 3 total attempts, 1 on target for them, 6 for us, but we have looked much more dangerous, and we're here on the road missing 2 key players. So happy with how we have performed so far. Haagensen on a yellow, though. Not sure what he's done to pick that one up. Janssen over the top. Karzik, another chance. A good block that time. He's going to set it up for Andreasen. Inside for Bergam, and Bergam just does not react well enough, quickly enough, and doesn't get into the position. The position was there. He could have had the inside track. Moen should have held on to that ball, but he punches it away, and we end up lucky on the counterattack. And Karzik, so close. Almost halftime now. This would be a great opportunity for Foss to get in and get a go. I would love to see him on the pitch today, but we have a 25-man roster, and we have 26 in the senior squad right now. So we already have one that is unregistered and left out. That is our 3rd goalkeeper, but we don't have room. We don't have any available slots. Again, this is another one of those. Wow, that was some strange physics. The ball in, the punch out was harder than the ball in. Harder than the shot. Uh-oh, poor reaction there from Harstad. Harstad, yeah, that was terrible. We got lucky that no one made that stop and that the shot was poor, realistically. Karzik back and helping, clears that away. Bergam lays it off, hold up play, and earns the free kick. Looked like it might have even been a yellow. Halftime. Shots were only +2, but XG is a full half goal clear of them. We are already beyond the point where we should have at least 1 goal by now. And Klepa did get that yellow card, and they've had 3 here in the first half. Let's hope that comes back to bite them in the second half and that we can get a man advantage. And let's hope that Haagensen himself doesn't get sent off. He's also a bit frustrated out there. Jonas Gay is aggressive. Haagensen is apprehensive. We got to watch out for those two. There was no reactions to the halftime talk, so these guys are going to be business as usual. Let's hope the other team didn't suddenly get fired up. See if we can maintain the advantage that we've held so far. Klepa on just a 6.2. He's got a yellow card as well. Their guys are really low on their ratings. We are the only ones with anybody above a 7.0. Kankarzik. Oh, that was close. That was a good attempt. That was a difficult ball going away with that on his left. I don't know if he's a lefty or a righty, but it was a good attempt. After the clearance, we recover the ball, but the highlight continues. So what do we have? Homedale finds Bergam. Bergam, corner of the box. Homedale, we recover. Still have it. Homedale, nobody moving for him. No teammate movement. And he loses the ball. Bergam, over the top for Homedale. Homedale, inside the gate. He's wide open, and it's a goal. There is the first of the season, right on the hour mark. Whew. Okay. Nicely done. Great pass from Bergam. Bergam sets up so much. And Homedale, well found to get Jonas Gay on the run there, realizing that there was one more purple jersey than the white and black striped jerseys, and he just found that space inside. And it was a really good pass from Homedale as he stopped his momentum, checked back, and made that simple pass across. 3 minutes later, they're trying to get one back, and they get awfully close there. Moen, good save. Another excellent grab from Moen. That easily could have been a goal if they got on the end of it. Janssen now on a yellow card as well. We might want to sub him out. That's a little easier to do than Haagensen. Haagensen I would much rather sub out, but I'm really lacking options. Do I have Gumanyuk? Gumanyuk is all I have. Late. Last few minutes, especially if we get a second goal, I will happily sub Gumanyuk. Through Ginkarzik. That should have been the second goal right there, but it is a corner kick. Janssen, I'm more comfortable bringing off Janssen. Not for Fololi, though. It would have to be for Hermansen. Hermansen looks to be doing a little bit better. Coming up on 20 minutes left to play in this one. Nearly time to start adjusting those tactics and start making those subs. The Janssen sub, probably the first one. Thought we had a chance to go through there, but we recover the ball. Ginkarzik, I don't know if he's offside. The flag is raised. 12 shots to 9. They've only had 2 here in the second half. Janssen, good steal there. Ostby! Was that our own teammate who took the ball off Ostby's leg? That would be nerves. That would be nerves. Ostby now on a yellow, and he is tired. Janssen's been playing well. Ostby's not having a great game. Let's go ahead and sub him out. Our options are what? What are our options? They don't look so great, do they? We're looking at Hermansen kind of either way, or Gumanyuk. Let's do the Hermansen change. He is more defensive than Ostby. And once this change is made, it's time to adjust those tactics. I just saw where the time is at. We have about a dozen minutes left to play. 3 yellow cards. They've had at least 4, so at least 7 yellow cards on the day. You could easily see somebody getting sent off. Janssen! Ooh. That was not tipped over by the keeper, apparently. That was scraping the top of the bar. We are not going to get stuck in with all these yellow cards. Andreasen, we could sub him out for Modeste. Get the fresh legs on. Not a tactical substitution, that one. More of a stalling and fresh legs kind of substitution. Bergam stalling well here for us. And we have 10 minutes to play. Counterattack is on. Sharma gets through, but we force him to turn out. But he finds a teammate. They're going to get that cross. They're going to set up the shot. We clear it away, and then Hermansen really clears it well. Ginkarzik as well offside. Easy call. Karstedt, Haagensen. Okay, we've got the ball. Fololi in possession. Dangerous play, but we're playing keep away well enough. Modeste over the top, and Ginkarzik does not move the right way for that one. He was looking to go inside, and the ball went outside. Hermansen, Haagensen, Janssen. Again, back into the keep away mode. Less than 10 minutes to play if you're counting stoppage time, or maybe thereabouts. Jonas Gay is through. So close to getting a brace, but not enough. Okay, now it's full-on time-wasting time. We've already dropped the line. We have 1 sub left. Now's probably the time to make that Haagensen on a yellow. I already made it. Made it in the first half. Lavas, the injury, I forgot. The injury sub that we made in the first half. But there you go. There's time. We get away with all 3 points deserved. We should have had 2. They should have had 1. We should have won by a goal. We won by a goal. Scoreline not quite accurate on the reflection of the game. The game should have had a couple more goals, 1 for each side. But we've done enough. Our ratings were far higher than theirs. Last time I checked, they were all low, mid 6s still, so I hadn't seen that change. They did get a few more shots there in the final minutes. 5 more shots. with a couple of those on target. So they absolutely accumulated some XG in the final minutes after we backed off a little bit, went a little more defensive. That showed. But it was our game. It was our game throughout. You can see there's those chances in the last 10-15 minutes that piled on. But outside of one very clear chance in the first half that we did excellent to stop, that was a fairly big chunk of their XG, that one attempt. The rest didn't add up to much outside of a couple half chances. First update of the season, down in the U19s, Rossler, Hull, Murbachen all progressing nicely, I think. Voss and Netzker still where they started the year at. Zolwolf, where he started. Olim is like +1, +2 maybe. So there's definitely some guys on the way up. Holth started as a 55, already a 59, I think. We've played just a total of 5 games so far this season. You already saw the first one. We followed that up with a 2-0 win against Sandefjord. And then we went on the road at Mjøndalen, one of the better teams. And if not for a penalty inside the final 10 minutes, we would have come away with all 3 points on that one. But we do come away at least with a draw. And then we had a really difficult start to our third round of the Cup. And that involved Start as our opponent. Yeah, we've had literally one season out of 8. I think it's 8 since we first started qualifying, right, for the Cup. In 8 years, we've had a good draw, a run of good games that we drew in one season. And we got all the way to the quarterfinal. Outside of that, we keep getting top 2 tier opponents every time, despite the odds. Every season, again and again. We won 3-1, largely down to playing against 10 for most of the game, playing against 9 for the end of the game. And that helped us out a lot. And then we played Fredrikstad. Not our greatest performance. We actually were leading 2-0. We had the game all but sealed and put away and couldn't finish it off. They scored in the 85th and then in stoppage time to salvage a draw in that one. Disappointing collapse on that. Next up is Kongsvinger, who at the moment are only 12th place. And then Grorud on the road. Stabæk on the road in the 4th round of the Cup. What did I tell you? The odds always get better that you're going to face a good team, round by round. But we always have the difficult draw. Just every single season, except one. That's probably going to end our run, especially being that we're on the road. Then we have Braun, who surprisingly are only 7th. You would think they'd be a little bit higher. Have started poorly in the league. And that's what we have the rest of this month. Didn't go as far forward as I was planning, but huge surprise. Stabæk on the road, outplayed. Possession, yeah, sure, that was 50-50, but the XG absolutely favored them. This game shouldn't have had anywhere near the goals it had. The conversion rate was a bit too high, honestly, for both teams. But we come away with the victory late on. We were down 2-0 in this one, so we flipped the lid on what we had in that previous game where we gave up the 2-goal lead late. This time, Holmdale scores just inside the hour. Janssen scores in the 74th minute, and Hermansen gets the game winner in the 83rd. I think that might be the first time we've ever called his name out. Player of the match was Modeste with a 7.7 rating, 100% pass completion. A win and a loss during that stretch, losing to Kongsvinger, our first loss of the year, has us in really good shape right now. We have 3 wins, 2 draws, and a loss, +1 on the goal differential. It's 11 points from 6 matches played. It's definitely a better scoring rate, points-wise, to what we had the previous 3 seasons. And at the moment, it has us all the way up in 4th place. Valerenga, unpromotable, is up there in 2nd at the moment. Ailsund, the current leader. Now, this is one of those things I'm not sure I've updated realistically at all since we first started this series, but as is typical in FM, The league you have loaded, the league that is active, slowly gets better and better. The AI is more aggressive in the leagues that are loaded than they are elsewhere. And so generally, year by year, decade by decade, you're going to see gradual improvement of the league that you're participating in. So the Elite Syrian, not that we are in the Elite Syrian, it's all the way up to 7th now in the rankings, and I don't know where it is in real life, 20th, give or take, maybe top 16, 17. We're quite a bit above where we should be, where we naturally would be. For good comparison's sake, 2 spots below us, and having just passed them up, they were 7th a year ago. The Eredivisie, harder to say than it is to know how to say, the Dutch league, right? Ajax. By the way, Serie A is in 2nd these days. I don't know how long that's been ongoing, but that's where they stand. They are not second fiddle. They're not 4th or 5th best. They're 2nd best these days. La Liga is down in 3rd, Bundesliga, and then the French league. Recent form, not as good. That was always expected. I was really surprised with how well we were doing, considering how gradual our improvement has been. But Braun 2, we got that victory, and then we lost to start. Both teams with players sent off. 2 penalties that we gave up in that one. Really? They get somebody sent off, but we don't get a penalty for what? That is an insane game right there. Bergam had a penalty missed. Wow. That's an interesting match right there. Hamcam on the road with a draw. Both sides getting a penalty at one point or another. And that was a come from behind draw. And then we just had Tromso 2 at home, who have struggled. And we were up 2-0, and we've had another collapse. We've already had 2 goal leads this season end up dropping points. We've lost 4 points from a 2-goal lead. Next up is Tromso 2 again. And we're going to have to go on the road this time. It's going to take a better performance, but you can see from that last match we are definitely the better team. They are struggling, actually, in the league. So we should be just about favored to come up with the 5th round cup win on the road at Tromso. 10 matches played now. We are outside of the top 4. We are in 5th place. Vålerenga currently lead the league, but they are unpromotable. They can be given a championship, but that's why you have 2, 3, and 4 in the promotion spots. We are just off of that, but we are starting to fall behind a little bit at 4 points behind that group. It would be nice. I would be thrilled if we finish the season right where we're at right now. 5th place, just out of the promotion area, just ahead of this group, or maybe comfortably ahead of this group would be nice, but we're definitely not in any sort of danger at this point. That much is clear. We're doubling up the points of the relegation zone. After progressing to 12 games into the season, our position has been stabilized. We're still 5th place, 22 points from 12 played now, 6 wins, 4 draws, 2 losses, +5 on the goal differential. And you can see a gap starting to open up behind us. Not directly. Hamcam on 21 is 1 point behind. But at Braun 2, we're 4 points clear of just 2 spots away. The other direction, 4 points gets you to 2nd. 5 points gets you to 1st. So it's very tight among the top 6. But then there's definitely a gap to kind of the middle tier group that are all within, well, a few points of each other or 2 additional points to start. And then you have your bottom end group. So the league, at least at the moment, is dividing itself into 3 groups, and we're on the tail end of the first group. So that's another sign of the progress, right? Last year we were in the middle pack and just at or near the top of that one. The previous year we were very much in the middle or tail end of that group, where the year before that we were, just at the top end of the bottom group. So our progress continues. Also, really good news is that not only has Bergam scored like he does, 6 goals, but Homedale has 6 goals as well. Homedale also on a 7.77 rating and 5 assists to his name, all in the league. Meanwhile, we are still in the Norwegian Cup. Next up, we're in the round of 16. We have Braun. That's a big ask because Braun 2 is that club that's, just at the top end of the mid-pack, just 4 points behind us. This is the senior team, and it's a road game. So there's a very good chance that we are going to be out in this next round. But, hey, we've made it to the round of 16. Next up is the quarterfinals if we do happen to survive this. So this is already the second deepest run we've had. And unlike that one year where we had the deep run, this has not been in large part due to kind draws. We haven't had the kind draw. Everything has been a top 2 tier opponent every single round. And yet we've somehow squeezed our way through. Speaking of the last round, Tromso, we beat Tromso 1-0 with extra time. So tight contest, but we got through it. And, looking at the 16 that are here, the odds are very much now, by this point, that you're going to play a top side. You have Braun 2 left. You have Mold 3 somehow have made it this far. Kielsas, and then you have Vidar, who's now been knocked out as a couple of these games have already been played. But, you're down to 3 teams that are not from, well, realistically, I actually think they're all top tier. So we are now we're one of 4 teams outside of the first division that remain in this competition. Oh, sorry, Ålesund also. So from our own division and Fredrikstad. So there's 3 tier 2 teams remaining, mostly tier 1, and then just the few teams that are not in the top 2 tiers. So by this stage, those lower teams are gone. But 3rd round, 4th round, it's still primarily those lower clubs. It's by the time you get to the 5th round where the odds go up significantly that you're going to have a top 2 tier opponent. By the 6th round, you're very much most likely to get, but 3 of these teams got non-top 2 tier opponents, and there's 3 from our division, so it's not like it's crazy. 10 are from the first division, but it takes the 6th round before that really happens. 5th round is still very much a mix. Anyway, I've talked about that a lot over the seasons. Sorry. Point being, the odds of the kind of draw that we've had consistently in literally all but a single season has been so heavily unlikely, and yet it's happened again and again and again, and it's stunted our performance in the Norwegian Cup. But this year we've finally overcome that, right? The year we got to the quarters, we got there on a lot of luck with that draw, and it was the draw we should have had for multiple rounds. But this year we've had the difficult draw each and every round, and yet we have survived those matches. So it's the point on this one is that we are progressing as a side, that we are getting better and better. We are hanging with the first tier, second tier, better teams a bit. We're surviving some of the games. We're not quite near the top of our league yet, but we are close now. And where, those past couple seasons where the top 4 or 5 teams would blow us out every game, we would lose every single one of those games, but we would perform well against especially the bottom tier, and we'd get a lot of draws and the occasional win against the middle tier, enough to, get into the middle of the standings, the mid-table. This year, we're starting to compete with those top sides where we hadn't previously. So, sign of progress. That's where the extra points are coming from this season thus far. In terms of player progression, Homedale now up to a 98, so he's on the verge of becoming our second player to break the triple-digit threshold. Also, Moen has progressed from, where was he, 67, 68 to now a 70. So he's having a good season. We're getting a little better in the goalkeeping department in terms of actually starting to see that little bit of progress here and there, and not just Moen, who kind of got it as starter, but we are seeing that progression in some of the other keepers as well. So it's really nice to see that, because that was the last group to kind of get going. Part of that was I definitely wasn't doing too much focused training, but I think the goalkeeping coaches have actually gotten better. I think they've gotten some badges since they've been with us, and so they've improved their standard of coaching naturally, and it's all kind of played a role. But I think playing at a higher level is making a difference, at least for Moen. In the U19s, Rossler has now gotten into the 70s and continues to climb rather rapidly. He's a 74, but Rossler is a right wing back or a right back. He does not fit our system right now, so we have been training him as a right mid so far this season based on his attribute distribution. That one makes a lot more sense than center back, even though I need center back far more than I need a right mid. But Rossler is developing quickly, and he's getting a little more comfortable with that right mid position. But the AI keeps changing team selection from what I had selected, and he keeps getting bumped out of a starting spot, which makes it really hard for him to learn a position. He might have to learn it within the system itself with us next season, depending on when we bring him up. Murbachen, who was just hitting 60, he was about a 59 at the start of the year, maybe a 60, now a 69, so he is developing very rapidly, and in the entire roster, I believe he is the highest potential player with a 143. So his rapid progress is going to see him almost certainly breaking the first team mold next season and getting in to a key roster spot. Christian Hole also continuing to develop rapidly at a 68. Foss, and not so quick this season. He's still only a 68. He was the highest at the start of the year in the U19s at a 66-ish. So only a small amount there. But Holth is another one, as Mats Holth, one of our intake players from this season, was a 55. It is now a 65. So he is developing very rapidly, and with that great need at center back, it's possible he'll be making his debut before the end of this season. Netskar, +2, so that's something. Olim is about a +4 so far this season. So we're seeing lots and lots of gains in the U19s, much more so than what we see at the senior level, and that's one of those key reasons why I left a lot of those guys here in place for this season. Meanwhile, we were knocked out by Braun 3-1 in that 6th round of the Cup, and that was almost harsh in terms of XG. They had about 2.7, so they almost deserved their 3 goals, maybe a 2.6. If I remember correctly, it was just above 2.5 goals. So they just about got what they deserved on that, but maybe a little fortunate on the 3rd goal. And meanwhile, we had something like a 1.6, 1.7. So we easily could have had a 2nd goal. I wouldn't say a 2-2 after regulation would have been fully deserved, but it was definitely not far XG-wise from being a 2-2 type game. So them getting the 3rd goal and us not getting the 2nd goal, I'd say the most likely in terms of how the flow of the game was going, most likely there should have been either one less for them or one more from us. Either way, that still nets them a goal victory. They should have either won 2-1 or 3-2. So on the bounce, they deserved the victory that they got. For us, it was a little harsh that it was a 2-goal victory, but good run, really good run, all the way to the quarterfinal, despite difficult draws. And not the quarterfinal, the round before the quarterfinal, but our 2nd best performance in the Norwegian Cup, while having a difficult draw each and every round, is good. Now back in the league, 16 played, so we are into the second half now. One game into the second half, and we've actually moved up. Yes, we have moved up. We are now third place. We were 5 points behind Vålerenga before. Now we are just 4 points behind Ålesund. We were 4 points behind Ålesund, so we've kept the gap to them the same. HamKam remains 1 point behind us, so the three of us remain on the same pace, but Vålerenga has dropped some points, and we're now just 2 points behind them. And then Mjøndalen have dropped points. We're now 2 points ahead of them. And then Kongsvinger is the other one who has also dropped points. So of the top 6, 3 teams compared to us have dropped points. 3 teams are identical to where they were, which means over the last stretch, we are maintaining pace with the best teams in the league. So performance is really good, and there's a chance that I might have to just slow this thing down and play out the second half of the season, because at least at the moment, we are absolutely in contention, especially when you look at the fact that Vålerenga 2 is unpromotable. Remove them from the equation, and we are in an automatic promotion spot right now. But we're also 1 point from going down to playoff, and we're just 2 points from going right back down to no promotion. At least at the moment, we are now mixing it up with the top teams. Kongsvinger are also losing pace a little bit, but they do have a plus 12 goal differential, so you would assume that they will find some form again, as good as they are. Mjøndalen are a team that are kind of just hanging on, just squeezing out the points that they're able to get. But goal differential alone, everybody's 9 to a 16 in the top 6, and then you drop below that, and there's a couple teams at +1, one team at 0, one team at 2, way down as at Fredrikstad, but only 4 wins. 8 draws for them and 4 losses. That is a team that doesn't know how to win, but also knows how not to lose. You don't see that very often, where half of your games are draws. Anyway, we are mixing it up with the top teams right now. That could shake things up. That could change things. We're coming off of a loss, by the way, so we were a little bit higher a moment ago. Our loss was to Sandefjord on the road. That's kind of our first mid-table loss that we've suffered this season, just our 3rd loss overall. Really impressed with where we're at. I don't necessarily think we'll quite hang on to this position, but it is quite clear that we are mixing it up with the top 6 this season, unlike previously. I just don't know if we can keep up the form. Right now we're maybe Leicester City of a handful of years ago, where everybody's going, yeah, it's enjoy it while it lasts, right? You're gonna slip up at some point. West Ham this year slipped up at some point, right? They were 3rd at some point, and before eventually dropping to 7th now. So I think we're at that stage, right, where we're still bound to slip up. We're bound to drop a few points. In particular, HamKam, Mjøndalen, Kongsvinger could all beat us in the head-to-head. Maybe we draw one, maybe we beat one. But I think ultimately the top 6 is a place we can compete with now, but I don't think we're necessarily good enough to beat them. Not quite. Maybe next season, but it still feels a little early this season. But regardless, we are getting almost 2 points per match, which is a huge improvement from where we were, and we just keep that steady improvement going. But we are also about to enter the summer transfer window, or we're a day or two into it. Wherever we're at with that, it is summer transfer window, so there's some pretty serious risk that we could be losing Homedale. Actually, in particular, we nearly lost him coming up on the trade deadline entering this season, or at the beginning of the season, as we had an offer for, I think, 475,000. Last time I checked, that little over $500,000 is kind of the threshold that the board is willing to accept and force a trade through. So we just were able to hang on to him. Then you will tend to see some more rash decisions from teams that are desperate to avoid relegation during this transfer window and willing to pay a little bit more. So there's a pretty good chance that under this window, we could get that offer of 600,000, 650,000 and lose Homedale this time around, especially when he has A, continued to develop, and B, is having a very good season. Still on 5 assists. That rating has slipped a little bit from where he was, and Bergam has pulled away with 3 more goals over the last 4 games. Lovas was player of the month with 4 goals in 4 games, so he is back to performing well. He missed some time through injury. Let's hope maybe Homedale cooling off a little bit deters some interest, because he is very much the player that we are at risk of losing the most right now. Janssen is the other one that is being targeted fairly heavily, but not to the same extent in terms of financial offers. We are going to go ahead and call that an episode right here. I was expecting to do the whole season, but now that we're in the mix, you never know, right? It has slowed things up in terms of that. But I will push forward another at least 4 games and see where the team is at as we go to enter the next episode. And if we do have a real shot at promotion, then you better believe we will slow things down. We will play out a handful of games down the stretch and see it through, either for the sake of promotion or for the sake of being eliminated from promotion. But we should be able to get through the rest of the season in our next episode. That's going to do it for this one. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.